So we're going to make some buttermilk biscuits in the southern style. I attempted to provide ingredients and instructions in Japanese on the sheet, but a lot of it is Google Translate and it could be wrong. I attempted to get close to converting everything to milliliters. In America we often use a variety of different measuring cups to measure by volume instead of weight. There are multiple styles of biscuits in the United States. Two of the traditional styles are northern versus southern. Part of the difference is what they had available. In the north they had a hard wheat, which is great for bread, but it provides a dense biscuit that's not as fluffy. This is a whole wheat. That's a variety of wheat, and it's not a good choice for southern biscuits. It makes a really dense biscuit. We have this right now. It's better to use a soft variety of wheat. That's what was grown in the south in the past, and it's better for biscuits, not as good for bread due to the protein content. This right here is just a general purpose flour that I got at Walmart. It's a mixture of hard and soft so that people could use it in multiple uses. The north often uses butter, from what I've seen. Butter has a stronger flavor, but it does not cause the biscuits to rise as much. Another aspect is baking powder and soda. Baking soda needs something acidic, whether it's vinegar, like vinegar mixed into milk. Baking soda is 3 or 4 times stronger than baking powder. Baking powder has an acidic powder mixed into the sodium bicarbonate, and so it doesn't technically need vinegar or buttermilk or yogurt or some kind of acidic dairy product to rise. It could rise on its own. That's some of the technical things that I wanted to cover. To get into mixing the ingredients, I've already pre-measured everything. The flour's in here. I already put measured out the salt, sugar, and baking powder in here. I actually reduced the salt for our own health purposes. So the first step would be just well, the dry ingredients should be mixed well. Once you start mixing the shortening in, it's actually important not to mix it too thoroughly, because especially if you're using butter, butter will melt if you work it into the dough too much with your fingers. And one way, at least what they taught me in the army, is that you just squish the shortening or butter into the flour until you get little chunks. This is actually an important step. And some recipes, they'll melt the butter or they'll use a mixer, but part of the flakiness in this style of biscuit is going, especially like KFC, they're very flaky biscuits. Part of that is that there are sections of shortening that's not fully mixed into the dough, and that's what we're going for. So if you look at this, there's I might have overmixed it actually. There's a few little chunky areas. I overmixed it just now because I wasn't paying close enough attention. That's something you know watch out for. And then at that point, the buttermilk. Technically, we have the baking powder in here, so it'll activate even without the vinegar in here and the milk. And you could conceivably just use regular milk. I don't know if it'll actually make a difference or not other than taste. The vinegar will give it a more tart flavor. A better way to do this than I just did is to mix a little bit in at a time. On this kind of biscuit, you don't actually want it very liquid. You want it's not quite bread dough consistently, but it's not very sticky. Well, it is sticky. You'll see. And once again, something to watch out for is you want to get all the flour into this consistency, but you don't want too liquidy either. And while you're doing this, you don't want to have the shortening or butter, whichever you chose, to melt any further than it already has. Otherwise you'll lose the flakiness. So at this point you can see this is the consistency that you're looking for. It's a solid mass of dough and it's no longer very sticky. At this point I have this cutting board prepared with flour on the bottom. The flour is to keep the dough from sticking to the cutting board. I have a little bit of extra flour off to the side. At this stage I wrote an inch, but it's really just around there, around 25 millimeters I think it was, or 1 inch. It doesn't have to be precise. You could probably tell this is uneven. That's fine. And you can spread a little bit over, keep it from sticking to the cookie cutter. Next process is just to cut these. This is a typical cookie cutter. I space it a little bit. I don't know if it depends on what you're going for. If you want more of a crust, you'll have it spaced more and you'll cook it a little bit longer. If you want it to be softer, like I want it to be softer due to my own issues, and so I'll do it closer together and I'll make sure not to cook it for too long. Once you get to this point, then just mash it back together. Now something like this, if I cut directly into this like that, that's how it will be when it bakes. When it's finished baking, if you want that, that's fine. But I'll try to mash it back together. This is another step that's better to pay attention to, and that is because you want it to cook consistently at the ideal temperature. I could put it in now when the oven's still warming up, but that could alter the result. This really is dependent on a chemical reaction between the sodium bicarbonate and the buttermilk and the other powders that are put in the baking powder. When you change the expected temperatures and times, that could change the chemical reaction and it won't come out right. But it'll still be edible. Okay, so now my oven is up to temperature. Even I have made a couple of mistakes doing this. The biggest mistakes are overworking the dough in two different ways. I overworked the shortening, and I overworked the mixing the milk into it. That we'll see if that results in reduced flakiness, and overworking the milk into the dough can also cause a tougher biscuit. It's been about 12 minutes. We've been joined by two supervisors. He's always involved. Sometimes she is. If you look at the biscuits, that's like borderline right there. Most people would let them get a little bit darker, a little bit of more golden brown, but for me, that might be enough. This test I'm doing, when you poke a toothpick in there, if stuff comes off, then it's not cooked. But if it's dry when you pull it out, then it's fully cooked all the way through. This actually looks like it might be just right for me. So I'll pull it out. And pull them off. The bottom is also something. That's actually more than I like. That dark brown. I'm putting this on a pizza tray or pizza pan, which is not ideal. Ideally, we would have a wire rack to put these on. If we leave these biscuits on the pan for too long, they will continue cooking and get even darker on the bottom. I don't want that, but that's also a matter of preference. Now for checking the fluffiness, I'll open one of these up. And it looks, I was going to go for there, then slice it open, pull it, well even that, if you can see that it's flaking apart as I open it. I'm hesitant to actually touch it, just not only for sanitary but also because it's hot, but that's about right for me. It's fully cooked, it's flaky, it crumbles apart really easily, and we could put butter on this, we could put gravy on this, we could put cheese on it, melt cheese into it. There's a lot of things that we could do with this. So that's it might have been a little bit better if I hadn't worked the dough so much, but this is good enough for me.